Everybody enjoying a nice cool day this morning? Kind of nice out there, isn't it?
It is.
Everybody else was out walking around 5 this morning, noticed some nice weather, right?
That's correct.
I wasn't either, so. Okay, Washington County Commissioners Court is now in session, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Commissioner Bullock.
Good morning, welcome. Today we've got Deacon Al Prescott from St. Mary's Catholic Church to lead us in the invocation. Welcome.
Before we begin this meeting today, as we enjoy this beautiful weather and walking at 5 this morning, I'm snoring away. No, all right.
6:30.
We realize that life is short. And our friends in Burton, the kids and the teachers, and are not sharing any joy today. My prayer is about joy, because we have joy in our life, but in Burton there's no joy. So let's pause a moment and pray for the repose of soul of Kim, and for the kids in Burton, and for the faculty. And with that, we hear from Romans, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. And for us, Heavenly Father, we come to you today to ask for your joy. We know you are the source of all joy, and we ask you would fill our hearts with your presence. Help us to see the good in our lives, even when things are tough. Help us to be grateful for all that you have given us, and help us to share your joy with others. Amen.
Please join us in the pledge to our nation's flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 3, discuss and possibly act on approval of a proclamation proclaiming April 13th through 19th, 2025 as Public Safety Telecommunications Week. The proclamation. Whereas the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials endorses and recognizes the second full week in April each year as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And public safety telecommunicators provide the first critical contact for those in need of emergency services. They are the first of the first responders and must ascertain the location, nature, and extent of the emergency. In the midst of a person's crisis and under high pressure, public safety telecommunicators exhibit compassion, empathy, understanding, while maintaining a high degree of professionalism. And whereas Washington County proudly recognizes the dedication and service provided by these women and men, therefore we, the Washington County Commissioners Court, do hereby proclaim April 13th, 19th, 2025 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the County of Washington, and do commend its thoughtful observance to all citizens of our county. Adopted this 15th day of April 2025. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the proclamation proclaiming April 13th through the 19th, 2025 as Public Safety Telecommunications Week.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, who is from? Yeah. Would you like to say something before we do this?
Sure.
All right. Let's do that.
So first off, just thank you so much for recognizing us this week. Just something that we have is during National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, we celebrate the heartbeat of every emergency response, our 911 dispatchers. These incredible professionals are the steady voices in our darkest moments, guiding help to those who need it most. They carry the weight of chaos with grace, judging life or death decisions with unwavering strength and compassion. This week and every week, we want to honor their sacrifice, resilience, and the life-saving difference they make every single day. They are the calm voice within chaos, the lifeline in a moment of panic, and the steady voice that never cracks, unless you put me in front of a ton of people. Even when their hearts do. They don't wear a badge or race towards danger with sirens blaring, but they are the first to respond, the first to comfort, the first to act. Day after day, call after call, they carry the unbearable, screams, silence, sorrow, and they do it with strength, compassion, and the kind of quiet heroism that one rarely sees. So thank you for this proclamation. Thank you for my team, and I'm really proud of them.
Would you like to introduce your team to us?
Those who don't know, I am Allison Bryce. I am the C Shift Supervisor for Washington County Dispatch. Brian Smith with me today. He is on my shift. And then Caleb Brown, who is on D Shift as interim supervisor.
Would y'all like to come forward, please? Allison?
Oh, sorry.
1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
At this time, we'll recess our special meeting and we'll reopen in a public hearing. The public hearing pursuant to Texas Administrative Code 285.10 for public comments regarding adoption of proposed rules relating to the on-site sewage facilities within Washington County. Mr. Stoltz?
Morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, what we're going to be looking at today is going to be the OSSF order for Washington County. So just a little bit of a heads up, what we'll do is we'll go through a little bit of a summary of kind of currently where we currently are and what we're proposing and some of the reasons for those. So the last adopted OSSF order was from 2009. So we're about 16 years in, and we've seen some new products come down the line. We've seen some new things that we're looking at. So we're looking at some proposed changes to take those into account. So if you're okay with it, what we'll do is we'll go through the order. We'll go through some of the things that we're looking at modifying or adding in. So this has been reviewed through TCEQ and the attorney's office, so it is ready to go per your approval. So lot size, that's kind of the one that I think everyone kind of looks at. We're not proposing to change that at all. It's going to keep it exactly the same from what we've always had it since 2009, same adoption. Definitions, so this would be section C in here. One of the things that we've seen is that there is new classifications for homes that you hear. I'm sure everyone here has heard tiny homes, PMRVs, those types of things. We've worked with TCEQ on some of those things as they've come through the county, and what we're doing is trying to eliminate a lot of the confusion with this, and just going to say, look, this is a single-family home for a PMRV or tiny home, and it's classified under 285 for the sizing requirements. So that goes under a single or two-bedroom home is what those would be classified under for tiny homes, PMRVs, those types of things. And that has been worked through with TCEQ. They also agree with that recommendation. Let's see here. Section E, that's tank reuse. The other ones in there have not been changed. Section E, tank reuse. So let's say there's going to be a modification to an existing OSSF, or there's going to be an expansion, something along those lines, and they want to be able to reuse the existing tank. Number one, those are inspected, but beyond that, what we've had previously is it has to have been pumped out within a year. This, it has to be pumped out within a 5-year period. Most people don't pump out their OSSF every couple years, right? Every year. So this way, it has to have been confirmed that it's been pumped out in the last 5 years. Just give a little bit of buffer for those that are looking to expand or clean out their system. Let's see here. So this is actually going to be one of our bigger items. It'd be section J. Down the rest, a lot of those are pretty much the exact same what we've had before. Section J is going to be this is going to be multiple dwellings on a single property. So what we've had before is it's been one home per 1.5 acre. Now, one of the issues that we've kind of come from that is there's a big disparity on what a home is. You can have an efficiency, which is maybe a 400 square foot home on there, or you may have a 7-bedroom home, right? Really, a lot of that goes to, that's a big disparity in the actual OSSF that's actually being, or the waste that's actually being put in the OSSF. So what this looks into is actually the amount of waste that's coming from each one of these and looks at those individually. Now, whenever we were trying to decide what would be the proper amount of waste maximum that could be reused for these developments, what we found was there's other jurisdictions that are using 440 gallons per day per acre. The Environmental Protection Agency, they have also referenced this. They utilize this as well. So we felt like that's a pretty good safe number across the board, something that we can fall back onto. A lot of research was done. So that's kind of what we're recommending is the 440 gallons per day. With that, we also are going to be proposing a 25% reserve area along with this. So just because it fits doesn't necessarily means, hey, look, we're good to go. Whole point in this one is if there is a need for expansion, we don't want to have a particular piece of property that is maxed out, right? We want to be able to have availability to modify, expand as needed, because we don't want to ever have a system where it's failing and we have no other options, right? So if we're going to have multiple dwellings, that would fall under Section J. And some of the options that would be allowable for these would be, let's say we have a 1 acre property, which in this case would need, it has a community water associated with it. They would be able to do a 3-bedroom with an efficiency. I'm sure you've ever heard of like mother-in-law's quarters, things like that. So they could put an efficiency, which essentially be a 1-room area that maybe a mother-in-law or some other family member could come in and be with them. They could do a 4-bedroom with an RV. So let's say they have a family member that's wanting to travel or something like that and hook up to their system. They could do something along those lines. A PMRV with an efficiency, which that's park model recreational vehicle, which are more permanent than a typical RV. We've never had a cap on RVs. This would put a cap on RVs per acre. So that would put it at 8. So let's say we have a recreational or RV park that would come in. They would now be capped at 8 per acre maximum. So that kind of falls into that. 1.5 acre, which is also another big bread and butter for us. They could do a 6-bedroom with an efficiency, or let's say a 4-bedroom with a small 1-bedroom along with it, right? So that's something that kind of puts into play. That's kind of a big change that we're looking at with this.
Less restrictive too.
It is a little bit less restrictive, right? So just put that in mind that previously, doesn't matter what you put on there, if it's 1 per 1.5, done. Let's see here. Moving on to section I, which would be holding tanks. One of the things that we're just trying to clear up here is that there's been a question of whether holding tanks can be used in lieu of an OSSF to kind of bypass the 1.5 acre rule, to bypass the multiple dwellings rule that we're looking at. We just want to make sure that it's looked at saying, hey, if you're going to have multiple dwellings on this, holding tanks are not a bypass to this. It's still, you can use them, but they have to meet all TCEQ requirements and the county requirements, and the amount of density on that property still falls into that 440 rule. So it's just trying to kind of keep out a little bit of confusion with holding tanks. Setbacks. So this is an aerobic spray heads. These are how far out aerobic sprays can go. We've been pretty darn restrictive in the past, right? So to the point where if we have an acre, acre and a half lots, it makes it almost impossible. Right? And look, at the same time, there are some very impermeable clays, impermeable soils that we have in the county, which makes traditionals less available, right? So we need to be looking at the possibility for aerobics if landowners, if installers say this is what would be preferable. What we'd be looking at with the setbacks would be for buildings and property lines, we currently have those at 75 feet. Just to kind of keep that in mind, TCEQ standard is 10 foot. We would be proposing that down to 25. Still restrictive, but just possible to be able to install and not quite so restrictive where it's essentially impossible. Same goes with creeks and ponds. What we currently have in place today would be 113 feet. The TCEQ requirement is 50 foot. We would be proposing that at 75. A little bit more restrictive than what is bare bones from the state, but also a little bit more reasonable to be able to actually accommodate an aerobic system if they need it. Let's see here. Section R, which goes into application submittals. All that really goes into with this one is just purely going to be, if you are going to submit, we do get a lot of applications throughout the year. This is by far our most permits that we issue in the department. With that in mind, we just want to be able to get a full submittal. Our timeline doesn't start until we have all of our review material ready to go, right? Let's see here. All right, so installer suspensions. So we do have this in place for maintenance. We're actually proposing this for installers as well. So one of the things we're looking at is if we're having multiple failed inspections over the course of a 12-month period, then that would allow for a possible short-term suspension. Now, what we originally had in your packet was if you get a 2 failed inspection over the course of a year, a 12-month period, then you're suspended for applications for 1 year. We got some feedback regarding this one, and we would like to recommend a conditional approval on this one if you see fit. One of which would be it's more of an escalating period, right? So if there is 2 failed inspections that come forward over the course of a 12-month period, the first infraction would be you're suspended for applications that you would be on those applications for a 3-month cycle. If it happens again, so another 2 infractions over the course of another 12 months, separate from those first 2, we go to 6 and then following on with 12. That way it's kind of an escalating cycle. And just to kind of put this in perspective, over the last 25 years we've only given 18 failed inspections. So we haven't had a whole heck of a lot with these. We try and work with installers as best we can. We'll come back out, we'll come take a look at it. That's not a failed inspection, right? Failed inspections are more of a reoccurring issue that isn't being addressed, or a very significant issue that's not being addressed, something large, right? These are kind of more of our big time deals. So just to kind of put it in perspective, for 25 years, we've given out approximately 7,000 permits, 18 failed inspections. So very, very infrequent, and like I said, we really try and work with our installers. And the great thing is we actually have a great amount of very good installers in the county. Fantastic to work with, and we try and work with them as best we can, because here's the thing. Their objective is our objective, which is a good quality product for the new residents, right? So that is a recommendation we would like to do as a possible change with that one, is just an escalating instead of going straight to 12 months, right? A little bit easier to eat for a 3-month cycle. Let's see here, regulatory conformance, which would be section T. That'd be the last section that we're looking at for additional regulations that we're proposing. What this one would be is, let's say we have a particular piece of property and they haven't got their floodplain permits, which means someone's building a home inside of the floodplain. Can't do that, right? So we're working with you on floodplain conformance. We don't want to grant a permit for an OSSF when we know you're out of conformance on your location. Same with subdivision regulations. You're splitting land into 0.1 acres or something like that, something, outside of our regulations. We don't want to escalate development and move them further down the field until we get the proper fix on the other conforming permits and requirements. So that's just one of those things of, we just want to make sure that we're properly moving forward at the correct pace and correctly. So that's some of the items that we're looking at proposing for modification or addition. And at that point, we'll give you any questions or any other information.
Mr. Marzon, do you have something to add to this?
Yes, if I may. On section S, where we made the recommendation that we make a modification on it, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. It will not affect a contractor and installer who gets 1 failed inspection per year, as long as it's not within a 12-month period. So you could go a year and a day, basically. It won't apply to that at all. It has to be 2 failed inspections within the same 12-month period. And that has to happen 3 times before it would be a year suspension. So we think, in my opinion, I think there does need to be some consequences, or accountability, I guess you'd say. Kind of like what we do with the maintenance providers. But this is definitely less punitive than what we had originally proposed. So I hope you give it some consideration.
Okay.
Mr. Stoltz, I have a question about the sprinklers in section O. Can you explain the reasoning for that?
This would be for, you're talking about the time frame? So this has been in our requirements for a while now. The recommended sprinklers timing frame of this is that, look, we want to be able to have this if there is any possible odor at a time frame where typically people aren't outside. The whole point is we want to minimize the amount of complaints that are coming in, any nuisances that are coming in. And if I remember correctly, I think there's actually a recommendation from TCEQ to have that as well, or we're less restrictive under those time frames.
For the TCQ, for say the edge of spray from property lines, buildings, that sort of thing, with a timer, which we require a timer on everything, with a timer is 10 feet. Over the years, we've just seen quite a number of nuisance complaints because of that, because it's so close. You got small neighborhood with acre and a half lots, and the wind blowing, it crosses property lines, so we wanted it set back a little bit further.
And that way, if there is a landowner that is calling in saying, hey, I see this sprinkler going out, this is something simple, we actually can properly address and say, okay, just go ahead and work on your timer, make sure that's going off between 12 and 5 a.m. Cuts down on neighborly disputes.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any comments from the public? Does anyone like to address? Yes, sir. Sure, come forward, please.
Maybe a minute.
Sure.
I'm Craig Corliss, and I've been an installer in Washington County for 15 years. I've never failed an inspection. I think I have a good relationship, none of that. I'm here for the new guys because I think that this is, I have a huge concern that this could be weaponized at some point. You're taking away, the first one is 3 months. It was a year, and they changed it yesterday because, we called, it was a concern of mine, and this isn't something that we discussed with them ahead of time. We'd known that these rules were coming, and we hear bits and pieces, but nothing's sent to us about it, right? But when I say these rules have been coming, we're talking about a year and a half, 2 years, you'd have to ask Mark. But I think we have to have the foresight to look at that this could be used in a small county where if somebody doesn't like someone, it could really be used to get rid of people. And that's a concern of mine. And also, when you look at a 3-month suspension even, I don't do that many septics in this county. I've been here for 15 years, maybe 20 a year, right? I do a bunch in other counties. But you take a new guy, and one that's here specifically, that does 80 a year in this county, on the low end profit-wise, and I'm talking on the low end profit-wise for a septic installer, it's pretty big business. So if he does 80 in a year, that's 20 in a quarter. That's a $60,000 fine he just received. And that could be because somebody doesn't like that person. And granted, I've never failed an inspection. I think we get along well. But, this can, I don't think it's gonna hurt me. But I'm kind of standing up for the new guys. We've all been spoiled with guys that have tons of experience installing septic systems. But we got to let the new guys have a chance too. They're not going to know what us guys have been doing it for years, I've been in excavating for 25 years, The new guys need a chance, and everything else on this is fine. There's been a lot of thought put into it. But my problem with Section S is, it needs to be changed. We can't, hit them hard with a fine, whatever, but keep in mind, this can be 60,000, or if a guy's working on a commercial septic system, I just did the big gas station in Burton on Highway 290. 3-month suspension, guys, we're talking about a huge amount of money, and I guarantee you people will sue the county if that happens. That's 100%. So, it's not going to happen to me. I've never failed an inspection. But we got to look at the other, and I've got to look at the other administration that's coming in also. What if they have a vendetta against someone or don't like someone? It's a big deal. So everything else is fine. A lot of thought's gone into it, but I have a major problem with that.
Can you explain how just because you don't like somebody, the inspection can fail?
Well, the rules are supposed to be all the same, right? They're supposed to be all the same, but every single county enforces things differently. For instance, if you put it in a rock and pipe system, we've got a crazy rule, and none of us know the answer. They don't know, I don't know. We all know the book pretty well. But you're not supposed to go more than 150 feet from what we call the header pipe in your rock and pipe. But in this county, they let you step and go down, so you can go 150 and step and go down. It's very complicated to explain, but they know exactly what I'm talking about right now. So, and they allow that to go. Now, other counties might say, no, you're 150 feet from the header pipe. You can't do that. So, one county, you're getting really technical. THHN wire is never legal in a septic. Half the counties in the state of Texas, which is meant for, let's say it's an aerobic septic, it's meant for being in a wet environment, okay? Well, half the counties in the state of Texas will let you run Romex to it and never look at that. So you might have an installer that came in every other county, let them run Romex to it, which is 100% wrong either way. But now Washington County says, no, this is supposed to be THHN, this isn't rated properly. So we're getting super technical when you ask how they could enforce things differently.
Let me interject something. Mr. Toth, did you say we had 18 failures in what period of time?
Across the 25-year period.
25 years. So for someone to have 2 failed inspections in 12-month period of time is highly unlikely.
It would have happened once over the 25-year period, but it is rare. It is rare, and we are blessed with having fantastic installers in Washington County. It's one of those things of, if there is an installer that is being malicious, which we do not have any of those in Washington County right now, I want to preface that. But let's say there was someone that's trying to get over on customers and not produce good quality like our current installers are doing. It allows us to ensure that they're not negatively affecting a lot of landowners, a lot of citizens that are our constituents. But absolutely, he is 1,000% correct that we like to work with our installers. This would be essentially the nuclear option, I guess you'd like to say. And at that point, that would have to go through the inspector. That's going to have to go through the environmental department head, as well as myself. And even then, they do have an appeals process to the commissioner's court as a last option, right? And to be honest with you, we do have a mentality that, look, we want to work with our installers to get a good product. And if there's a situation where we find that that's impossible, then this could be considered. But at that point, we've never really had a very big issue with that. I don't see that with our current installers. Sir, go ahead.
Mind if I say something? Just to kind of address this and give you a little background, and I do definitely understand your concerns because the inspector is the one that's, making the call. We don't do things like that, but I understand the concern that depends on who's doing your inspection. And if you hire somebody new in the future, you may have a problem. I get it. Just on the past, like Wesley said, 18 failed inspections in the last 25 years. The 3-month suspension would have applied to one person, and there is one person on there that, not going to detail the work or anything, but the 12-month suspension would have applied to one person because they failed so many inspections.
Did they receive a re-inspection fee every single time?
I believe so.
So, commissioners, there's a re-inspection fee for every time that you fail an inspection of $150.
Okay, but I mean, of those 18 inspections, this is all started from one company. How many of those 18 failed inspections were in the last 3 years? 18 of them?
No.
A lot.
I was going to ask.
It was for one company, though.
Well, most
If
of
we're
them.
going to be straightforward, and that
Most of
company
them.
is currently
Not
out of
18.
business.
In the last, 5 years? In the last 5 years, so from 2020, 8.
8 were from the one company.
No, 8 were in the last 5 years.
Oh, 8 were in the last 5 years. Okay. I mean,
Still, you're saying the first infraction, that's 2 failed inspections within a 12-month period constitutes the first infraction.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just clarify that.
Yes, sir. And if it happens
It's not the
again-
first failure, it is the first 2 failures
Yes,
within
after
12 months.
2. And if it happened a second time, it would go to 6 months, and a third time would go to 12 months. Third or subsequent is how it's worked.
Okay, I don't think we're picking on anyone at this rate. Let's put it this way, or whatever your term was for, liking someone or something, that sort of thing. I don't think that's happening, so.
No, I just worry about it in the future with
I
other
understand.
people
Very
and a
well.
different
Your point's taken.
administration also.
Your point's well taken, I understand.
Okay.
It could happen.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Are there any other comments? Anyone else from the public like to comment? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and we'll reopen our special session. Item number 7, discuss and possibly act upon the adoption of the proposed order regulating on-site sewage facilities in Washington County to be effective from and after its date of approval and upon the approval of the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality.
So I want to thank everybody for coming today that's part of this. And Mark, I want to thank you and Mr. Stoltz for all the work that you've done on this. I know your team was working on this for a long time.
Yes, sir.
I do think that we have, this court uses data to drive it, and you've given us 18 failed inspections over 25 years. To add something that, in my opinion, is probably not necessary. I believe one of the companies that you're talking about is no longer even in business.
Correct.
What's crazy about the free market is that when you do bad work, you get punished by people not using your service. That's exactly what happened here. And I think that when we make these policies, we should use common sense in terms of what is necessary. I think that this may be, this Section S may be something that's needed later on, but it currently doesn't seem to support the data. And look, there's a $150 fee currently in item number 8 that we're going to be discussing, that if we feel as though that there is a need to increase the fine or the fee for them to get re-inspected, we could increase that fee in order to compensate us for those re-inspections. It's just my opinion on the situation.
Well, Commissioner, that's well taken, but at the same time, that doesn't prevent this person who is doing shoddy work or whatever it is from going out and doing more shoddy work somewhere else. $150 is not going to prevent him from doing that.
I totally agree with you, Judge, but if you're going to stop them from doing work here, then it should be not on an inspection, but on a failed system. If the inspection fails, the system still works.
But you're putting that, I don't agree with that, so.
Well, I wanted to appreciate you for coming and getting up here and sharing your thoughts on that. I do understand your concerns, but at the same time, when I just heard, you said that it was 8 over the last 5 years, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And we've seen, of course, not right now due to the economy, but we had a boom, okay, there for a while. And what we've been seeing and what we expect to see is a lot more development going forward. And I see this more as a quality control measure, because I do agree with what they're saying. We don't have any issues, it sounds like, on either side, but I do believe that the Commissioners Court needs to have some sort of quality control measure in there that allows us to, we don't have a lot of authority outside of the county, but this is one of those things, and we want to assure that not only is the correct right system going in for the environment, but that our constituency is essentially not being ripped off.
And please keep in mind that it's in the order, it's there because of TCEQ, it's in the model order, that if anyone is affected by a decision we make, they can always appeal it to y'all.
To the court, so they still have a recourse, correct?
Will the new be able to install septics while they appeal it to the court, though?
So that was my,
And we're talking a lot of money here.
so that was my question when you were talking about doing the gas station. So if you fail an inspection, you're holding up the entire construction process, correct?
On a system that nobody knows anything about, that's probably me. I mean, the inspectors look, a very complicated system. And it's big money too. I mean, not just a little bit of money, this is big money on stuff like that, that you're pushing someone out of. They've never done it. I'm just looking at people in the future, and how many, no other county has this, am I correct, or is there another county that has this?
Honestly, I haven't checked.
I think it's no. We haven't checked, I haven't checked, but I've installed septics in 23 counties. No other county has this, so they're all functioning just fine.
Mr. Marzon, my understanding is during the inspection process, you know, both you or Renee or one or the other, y'all aren't just doing a one-time look over. Y'all are involved at different points in the process, if requested,
Yes, ma'am.
and during construction, is that?
We review the plans when they come in before we authorize them to start on construction. If there are questions along the way, our office is open, and we're glad to work with you to answer questions or determine what needs to happen or any changes need to be made. The reason, I think the main reason probably for only 18 failed inspections in the last 25 years is that our normal way of doing business is, if it's something that you can fix while we're there doing the inspection, then just fix it. We're not gonna fail it.
But you did say 8 were in the last 5, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And the majority of those are one company that's no longer in business.
So do other counties just have a punitive, like a fee for multiple failures instead of the time frame of where you're out of business?
I know most counties charge a re-inspection fee. I'm not aware of any of them that increase the fee after multiple failed inspections. I will say, if I may, one more thing about what we're talking about. The way it's written, we won't accept new applications that indicate that installer. If they've already got applications in from that installer with their name on a permit and they're doing the work, they can finish those. We won't take any new ones for 3 months, is the way it's written.
So they could finish those out, and then during that 3-month period, they could do that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And may I elaborate on that just
Sure.
slightly? The whole reason for that is we also don't want to have, let's say there's a business practice where there's a down payment or something along those lines. We don't want landowners to be out of money. If they've already got work going started with this, we don't want to damage that as part of it. And so if there is a process that's already started off with an installer on that application, we believe that it should continue. I think we'd be causing more problems than fixing. But it would just effectively do applications.
All right. Is there a motion on number 7?
I make a motion to approve the adoption of the proposed order regulating on-site sewage facilities in Washington County to be effective from and after its date of approval and upon the approval of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality as presented, revisions in section S.
Revisions? Which revisions?
That one.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, is there a second? I make the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion fails. Okay, item number 8, discuss and possibly act upon the adoption of the revised fee schedule for Washington County Environmental Health effective April 16, 2025.
Yes, so this is the proposed fee schedule is actually very, very limited that would be proposed to be changed with this one. The only thing that we were actually looking to change on this one was under OSSF reinspection, failed inspections was removed from that. So it's just a matter of, hey, look, if it's going to be one of those things where, hey, come out tomorrow kind of deal, it's just meant to address those. And the other thing is that we currently use certified payments. as our vendor that we utilize for credit cards and things of that nature. In the event that we end up changing a vendor, which at this point in time I don't believe there's any conversation of that, but in the event that that does change, we don't have to come back, right? It's one of those things that just we keep it simple. Credit cards are dealt with. We keep our vendors off of our fee schedule.
Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the adoption of the revised fee schedule for Washington County Environmental Health effective April 16th, 2025.
I second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. Mr. Marzon? Item number 9, discuss and possibly act upon authorization for Engineering and Development Services Department to advertise for sealed bids for the service of seal coating from May 27, 2025 through May 12, 2026. Bids are due May 15, 2025 at 10 a.m. in the County Clerk's Office, Suite 102, and opened May 15, 2025 at 10 a.m. in the Commissioner's Court Chamber, Suite 103, and will be awarded on May 27, 2025 at 9 a.m. at the Commissioner's Court meeting.
That was a mouthful.
You like that one?
It's all there though.
You got that? I'm glad you enjoyed that.
So what we have here is we're requesting to go for a sealed bid for chip seal. At the end of the day, I'm going to be straightforward and honest. I don't intend on utilizing this contract. I view this as very similar to what we have in terms of the emergency debris removal contract. It's one of those things that if we have unforeseen circumstances that do arise, we have the availability to implement this to be able to finish out the proposed work. We don't want to get to the end of the year and we've had a major disaster or something along those lines that's pulled us off. This is a backup plan. That also does give options. Let's say we do want to talk about expanding based on our capabilities that are physical with our equipment and personnel. This does give the option to discuss those things, right? So this is purely a backup. It's purely a secondary options that the Commissioner's Court and the department can utilize collaboratively, right? But at the same time, the paving plan that we've discussed with all of you, we are fully moving forward on that. Everything is going rock solid, knock on wood. So we've been doing great.
As particle board.
I know, I better find some wood. But everything's been actually going fantastic. We've gotten some quotes from some vendors just to kind of see what those would be looking like, and they're a little bit more reasonable than what we saw in 2023, but still would be, if they were implemented across the board, would be approximately $450,000, right? So this is, once again, this is not the intention. We're moving forward full steam. This is a backup plan, purely.
I like the idea of being proactive.
We had a lot of storms last year, and we had to make some tough calls, and I don't want to be in that situation again.
Okay.
I make a motion to authorize the Engineering Development Services Department to advertise for sealed bid for services of seal coating for the May 27, 2025 through May 12, 2026. Bids are due May 15, 2025 at 10 a.m. in the County Clerk's Office, Suite 102, and open May 15, 2025 at 10 a.m. in the Commissioner's Courtroom Chambers, Suite 103, and will be awarded on May 27, 2025 at 9 a.m. at the Commissioner's Court meeting.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 10, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of pending Washington County Expo rental regulations contracts. This morning we have 2 of those. Let's see, here what they are. One's a birthday party, or both of them are birthday parties, actually.
I make a motion to approve the pending Washington County Expo rental regulations contracts and give the county judge authority to sign.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of 2025 MS-150 right-of-way permit application. Mr. Remke.
Judge, Commissioners, you should have gotten a copy of that application along with their emergency action plan. Pretty well organized. I mean, it's really organized. The group, they've done this for many years, been coming through Washington County for about 5 now. So far, we haven't seen any issues with it. It's a little bit of traffic, but pretty reasonable, I think, for the amount of people that they push through there. So,
Okay.
I make I make a motion to approve the 2025 MS 150 right-of-way permit application.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of 2025 ready-to-roll cycling right-of-way permit application.
Ready to roll.
So this is a new application that I'm not seen it before, but this is out in a Washington area. This is kind of a warm-up ride for this particular group for the MS 150. So they expect 300 or less people at this ride. They're going down 1155, 105 for a little bit, Fluellen, and back around in that area in those FM roads. Supposed to be about a half a day. But
I'd need the practice too.
Well, at least they're applying for the permit. We have others preparing for the MS 150 that are not doing so.
Right.
Yeah. Make a motion to approve the 2025 ready-to-roll cycling right-of-way permit application.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 13, discuss and possibly act upon the purchase of ambulance module with H Power System from Fraser Incorporated as a sole source vendor. Commissioner, we approve this in budget, correct?
Yes.
So,
Make a motion to approve the ambulance module with H Power System from Fraser Inc. as a sole source vendor.
I'll second that.
motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14, discuss and possible act on the approval of an amendment to the professional services agreement between Washington County and Plan North LLC for Washington County Expo and other Washington County sites. Mr. Hanneth, you've been active in this one. You want to address it?
Yes, so commissioners, if you remember, we had a discussion in budget about getting some documents together for the judicial center. We, rather than, that property out there on the expo is where we talked about having a site review. This is going to give us the opportunity to allow Plan North to look into that and give us some numbers. The amount here is $37,000 to do in addition to what we've already done at the expo.
Expo.
At the expo. It's all that property up there, Commissioner. Is that what you needed, Judge? Did you
Yes.
want-
No, that's it. Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the amendment to the professional services agreement between Washington County and Plan North LLC for Washington County Expo and other Washington County sites.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of pay rate for jail lieutenant. Sheriff, would you like to, excuse me, Angela, you want to do this? Okay.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. This is a transfer for Lieutenant Blakey from the patrol side of the Sheriff's Office over into the jail. This was recalculated in the pay range for the appropriate for the jail lieutenant. And what we're requesting is that his pay rate stay the same. It's slightly under what the calculated rate was. It's 8% over the midpoint of the range. And Lieutenant Blakey does bring over 30 years of service, and a lot of that service with us specifically. He will also be taking on a few additional tasks in his role as a jail lieutenant that he already does as a patrol lieutenant, which includes the fleet management, radio management, and he also holds an active peace officer certification, which is not required on the jail side, but it is a big help over there. The sheriff is here to support this. I don't know if he has anything to add.
No, I would just like to say thank you for your consideration on this. I think this is a move that would really benefit the agency and providing some leadership in our jail facility. Lieutenant Blakey will also be in charge of our transport deputies. So we'll have a commissioned officer overseeing those operations, and will give us an opportunity for an internal competitive promotional process to fill the vacancy on the patrol center.
Well, Sheriff, I think that this is something we're going to take your lead on as you are running that office, and we appreciate your leadership.
Thank you.
So I make a motion to approve the pay rate for jail lieutenant.
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thanks.
Item number 16, discuss and possibly act upon approval of COBRA Benefits Administration Transition Agreement and authorize county judge to sign. Angela?
So I sent you guys over a bit of information about this. There was an email attached as well that had some additional information. So TAC has chosen to move the administration of COBRA benefits. They're going with Willis Towers Watson's Benefit Connect. This is in the hopes of providing a more well-rounded service to our people who need to go onto a COBRA coverage. It doesn't appear that fees are going to change. There's like an initial $150 notification fee. That's going to stay the same. TAC is going to cover a lot of some of the other fees from May 1st through our renewal of October 1st. So it's kind of a formality to accept this transition on that service.
Need a motion, or is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the COBRA Benefits Administration Transition Agreement and authorize the county judge to sign it.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 17, discuss and possibly act upon rescinding the termination notice dated October 7, 2024 and sent to Central Square, previously known as Zerka, for software maintenance. Ms. Miller, would you like to elaborate on this?
Yes, we've been in contact with the attorneys for Central Square, and after discussing everything that's taken place, we all, not just my office, but the attorneys for them also feel this is the best way to go. We would rescind the termination notice that was dated October 7th, and then if you look at the next agenda item, we have this extension amendment to be put into place. And this would kind of eliminate the confusion if there was any, and also give us a little bit better standing if it ever would go south.
So those attorneys agreed that that the director had the authority to rescind this
Yes.
contract?
Yes, they did.
And
Okay.
and y'all believe that as well? Y'all don't believe that this court has the authority to do that, not the director?
Well, if you look back at what took place, there was a meeting with the court, and during that time, there was a decision to move to a different company.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think based upon that discussion and based upon that she was the department head at the time, I think she can, I can't speak for her, but if you can look at what happened, she was definitely acting in the court, at the court's direction, if nothing else. At least the court had agreed to move on, so that had to be terminated, so.
So this actually simplifies everything and it gets it all a contract in effect again. Correct. Okay.
And has IT been involved in this conversation?
I don't know if they have or not.
Okay.
I make a motion to upon rescinding the termination notice dated October 7, 2024, and sent to Central Square, previously known as Zerker, for software maintenance.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 18, discuss and possibly act on the approval of extension amendment to the software license and service agreement between Zerka and Washington County.
So my question on this, if now we're doing this, now we're back under contract with them, whenever we bring the new software in, then we'll have to make sure we put the notice out again, do the same thing all over again?
But in the interim period, you have a contract.
Yeah,
Because-
I got you.
What is do we know how soon we have to give them notice of cancellation?
90 days?
I don't remember.
Something like that, yeah.
90 days, I think.
Okay.
And the contractor will make sure.
But if we, so wait, I'm still confused though, because if we rescinded the termination notice and we never formally terminated the contract in court, don't we have a contract and then we'll have this extension amendment? Like, I'm completely lost.
Well, they
What's happening?
recognized your termination notice, that's why we have to do that. And so then that left us with nothing, but we were still working with them, so now at least we're.
I thought it would, it
We
didn't say
were-
termination, it said, we're not going to renew. I'm so
No,
lost.
it was a termination. Yeah, it was.
So we don't have to, so anytime we're canceling a contract, we don't have to formally terminate it in here? We can just send an email and say, we're
That
not
would be
gonna
the
renew
best
it?
route to do, to have something like this on the agenda, yes. That would be the best way to do it.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the extension amendment up to the software license and service agreement between Zerker and Washington County.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Miller. Item number 19, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of renewal bonds for Daniel C. Gaskamp and Floyd J. Mathis, Reserve Deputy Sheriffs. Ms. Kramer.
Yes, the annual renewals for these two gentlemen, they work upstairs in the courts.
I make a motion to approve the renewal bonds for Daniel C. Gaskamp and Floyd J. Mathis, Reserve Sheriff's Deputies.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 20, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of accounts payable.
Yes, I just want to see what, go down. What total do you, 314, okay. The actual total today is 376, 555, 82. It's different from what you're seeing there because yesterday I had to add in the enterprise bill. Because if I don't pay it today, it'll be late and they'll hit us with some more late charges. So that's why I added it yesterday because I wasn't here last week.
376.
376, 555, 82. It's like 60-some thousand.
Okay.
62,000.
I make a motion to approve accounts payable.
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 21.
I make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.